Welcome, everyone, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep, and with me I have Minions Blind Press.
I'm actually here.
Prospero.
Hello.
And the Harry Channel.
Good evening.
I hope you're all, as what's her name was. I hope you're all well. No. Who is that? Is it the conservative commentator who says that? Good evening. I hope you're all well.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, a lot of people say it. I mean,
her first name is Daisy.
The only Daisy I can
Chad,
think of.
help us out. Who's the conservative British or Australian commentator who starts with Daisy and what? I can't
All
remember.
I can think of is Miss Daisy, but that's
no,
that's the wrong Daisy.
All I can think of is Daisy Fuentes, but that was like MTV a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, not the right Daisy.
Daisy
Anyway,
Daisy McAndrew?
I know. Yeah, I'm just having a senior moment. I'll
We'll
figure
be
it out
talking about something completely different.
I've been
And
subscribed to her for like 4 years. So I watch every video she makes,
No, but
and I can't remember her last name.
It'll be like half an hour into the stream. We'll be talking about something else, and then Skep will be like, Daisy so and so, just randomly.
Daisy Cousins? That Daisy Cousins is the only Aussie that I can.
Daisy Cousins, is that her last name? I think you might be right. I think that is
Cousins, if she's very stinky about it.
Cousin Cousine?
Yeah, I mean, but it isn't even spelled.
All right, it's not even important. Anyway, I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad you're all here.
Daisy Skep ejaculated. I think that's actually the correct use of that word.
It is.
Yeah. Daisy's Skep ejaculated, and he said that really hurt. I didn't know daisies could hurt you like that. But anyway,
one petal at a time.
Yeah, you just gotta. I'll put out diagrams for that joke later. Anyway, Blind Press, how are you doing this evening? What's been going on with you?
I'm slowly getting my voice back, sorta, kinda. It's been a thing ever since the damn freaking essential oiled candle. That my throat's been all fucked up, but it really got bad after I got sick a couple weeks ago. But
so much for essential oil candles.
No, I'm just trying to figure out if I know you well enough to make the joke I'm thinking of.
Today,
good.
No. Don't make that joke, because I just made that joke in my mind, ran it through the sensor, and it did not pass.
So how Phil, for those of us who don't know everything that goes on in the world because we're busy, what did happen with this candle?
So I bought a candle from a store around here. That is it's like a discount store, right? And I didn't know the candle had essential oils in it.
Okay.
I just thought it was
discount candle. Check. Go on.
I thought it was just like a scented candle that you get at Walmart or whatever, right? I didn't think it had a coating of essential oils on it.
So you have to get consent from this candle? Is that what you said?
No.
A consented candle?
No, a scented candle.
Is that what candle after it gives consent, then it's scented?
No, a candle that's supposed to smell nice.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out if it gives a scent.
Anyway,
clean jokes are boring.
I was burning this thing in my office, and sitting and doing stuff. And after about a week, I started noticing that my throat was really sore. And the only thing that was different was this candle.
Mm-hmm.
So we got rid of the candle. But ever since that candle, my throat has been really fucked up. And that was about a month ago. And then I got a chest cold.
Yay!
2 weeks ago. And so I'm thinking I've got just like some laryngitis from the coughing and the oil, going in my, like, breathing in the essential oil that was evaporating off this candle. Yeah.
Yeah, the vocal cord damage from coughing, it's not to be sneezed at.
From a physical standpoint, if you get aerosolized oil, which is what I think probably would be happening, I don't think there's really any. There might be some chemical changes going on, but I don't think the products would be in enough volume to do anything to the lining of your lungs. So it makes me think that the oils, which probably are a Heinz 57 fucking variety of every kind of pH and irritation level and all kinds of things, mixing up in this toxic aerosolized stew, and you're breathing them in, coating your lungs with them. And the really great news is because they're probably, since they're oils, they're probably not very many of them are water soluble because of the way they're chemically put together, which means that your body will keep them for a nice long time.
Yeah.
This is why, that's one of the problems actually with smoking pot is that a lot of the tetrahydrocannabinol and the salts that come from the chemistry of metabolizing THC, all of that ends up in your brain. Your brain has a lot of fat in it, and THC is lipophilicity, which means that it binds to fat, and it loves to bind to fat. Really likes it, loves it more than almost anything else. And so you get high, and then the metabolic products of that head up into your brain and stay there for the rest of your life because they are so insoluble. And anyone who's ever cleaned a bong knows this.
Yes.
Not that I ever have. Okay, I have. But anyway, anybody who's ever cleaned a bong knows how hard it is to get off until you get the alcohol out and find that out. Unfortunately, if you washed your lungs, the inside of your lungs with ethanol, you would be dead in about a minute. So
that's why you let your bong sit overnight after you use the alcohol.
Well, yeah, but the problem is when you get that from scented tinder, when you coat your lungs with that, you really just have, I would estimate, probably a fairly an irritatingly long recovery, but eventually, because they just get such great blood supply, they're so vascular, the lungs, just the most vascular part of the body, really.
Your chest cold,
kidneys,
your chest cold actually might have been felicitous in that regard.
It might have,
because it encouraged
a lot of water down there.
Well, it encouraged her to cough. And, the increased mucus and the coughing, creating a hostile environment for all those comfortable settled oils.
It's just that the oils adhere to the phlegm, and your body gets rid of the phlegm eventually.
Right. And that
congeals.
Yeah, it was like, yay,
Your body loves phlegm.
Yeah.
It doesn't congeal. When it congeals, then it's boogers and loogies, and then your body wants to get rid of it. But as long as it's smooth flowing and lubricating like it's supposed to, you love that stuff.
Well, yeah,
phlegm is our friend.
You want mucus. You
mucus
want it
rolls.
In your head. We all know what it's like when our sinuses get a little too dry.
Yes.
In the wintertime and how uncomfortable that is. And it's like, was I actually complaining about being a mucus factory? The last head cold I had, may I please have one now?
But the good news is, despite my voice being all creaky and squeaky, today I went to, there's a gym actually quite close to my house. And I went there today just to see if it would be like easy to learn how to get to. And I also went in to ask them some questions about, do they have experience with disabled patrons, stuff like that. And I was treated very, very well at the front desk. Like the person at the front desk spoke only to me and not to my orientation and mobility instructor. And you know, I asked, you know, are the machines touch screen at all? And I was told that they are not, that they're buttons instead of touch screen, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I was also told if I needed anything marked, that they would be happy to do that for me. Like, just very accommodating.
Cool.
So yeah, that's gonna be,
and that's on top of the dance routine that the Apple Fitness thing.
And then I got home and put on Apple Fitness, and like for the first time ever was able to learn an actual dance routine without, you know, dissolving into a puddle of frustrated tears, because usually learning something like dancing as a blind person is incredibly frustrating because you can't see what your instructor is doing. And then anytime I did it in school, I would have my educational assistant, who I never got along with anyway, trying to like show me what the teacher was doing, and it just made it worse.
Yeah, without actually understanding that you have a spatial orientation of your own.
Yeah.
That can translate descriptive.
Yeah.
To actual physical.
Yeah.
You know, instead it's the no arm here, no leg. That isn't going. All that's going to do is make you get pissy because you're getting touched.
Exactly.
You know, it's like stop. Just tell me. If she's standing on one foot, okay, is it the left or the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a twit. But I was so pleased when I saw your tweets today about the dance move, because I was like, that's really nice, because there's your self-accomplishment.
Yep.
You know, and it was just you and the app and the dancing, and nobody having to be involved in it other than that.
Yep.
But I didn't know about the gym, and that is extra special. Nice little icing on top of that cake.
Yeah, it's great. So I'm going to go on Saturday for a test session with a trainer that actually has experience with disabled clients.
Cool.
And I'm going to see, like, I'm just going to go and see what it's like there and see if it's beneficial to get a membership. And then if it is, I'm going to do 3 days at the gym a week and 3 days here at home a week.
I'm so glad you have that resource.
Yes. What a great option, because it's also socialization.
Yes.
And, you know, we had enough isolation over the last 2 years to last us all a lifetime.
That's partly why I'm doing this, is so that I can get out and practice my cane skills and like traveling, and then also like interact with other humans not on a computer.
Right. And also, you know, with the lockdown, other than, you know, when the kids were in school, going to school and back was like all the navigating you were doing, because there was no effing place to go.
Yeah.
And so it's like almost relearning it. I mean, it's going to be there's a lot of muscle memory involved there, and your incredibly eerie mapping skills. But you know, it's got to be nice, you know. I mean, somebody other than the internet community. We love you all, but really, some of you are strange. And
in the internet community, why?
And the 3 children you're having to raise at home, you know, and your mom, and, you know, I mean, it's like, we love our family, but
3 goofy boys.
Hey, a stranger that I can be friendly with, you know, like the lady at the desk. This is so relieving.
Yeah.
Other than your mobility instructor.
And it was even better because none of us had masks on today, and we were inside.
Thank you, Jesus.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, somebody got the memo on the Necronomicon thingy. Yeah, it seems. But now, of course, everybody's all peeing themselves over the BA21-42.
Speaking of peeing themselves, Prospero, anything new in your life?
That was great.
Nice callback. BP, it's because I told them that we got to go in our new house is under roof.
Ooh.
So the framing is done.
That's
and we went in, we trespassed in it on Sunday. And Creed took some video, but I had described my behavior like a little puppy about ready to wet himself. Because I really was like doing the happy but I've got to pee dance.
That's so funny.
Well, we found out that, the Chickahominy River, if you want to call it that, at that point, it is, but it's not real wide or anything, runs behind our house. And from ground level, you can hear it. And I got obliquely a look at it, but at elevation, because our main floor, we have a walkout basement. Okay. Our main floor is a story up from where we've been standing previously.
So you'll be able to
we can see it.
Breakfast, have a coffee or something, and look out the window and see the river and
through the trees. Yeah, and when they leaf out, it'll probably be less. But boy, talk about alleviating the winter blahs. Right. Just the happiness of moving water. And I mean, I walked over to the window and I was like, oh my God, I can see the river. And then I started acting like an idiot. But Creed took video. So we have that in case there are workers there and stuff on Sundays from now on. Or we get caught like one of my two neighbors did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she got caught in her house and they changed the key codes.
But
well, it's not her house, technically, until closing. Oh. But she said I was so close to just flipping them off. Because she was just like, God, now I just...
And why is it that way, Prospero?
It's that way for legal liability, because if you were to be injured or damage anything, right, they'd be on the hook. So, now I'm the kind of person that if I fell down the stairs of my 2B house that was under construction,
you'd hope nobody saw it.
I'd hope nobody saw it. And it would be, I had a fall.
Right.
When I got to the ER. It wouldn't, right. I fell down a flight of stairs. I would not be giving specifics. I would not talk to a lawyer. But.
And that puts you in about 1/10 of 1% of,
right.
of Americans.
You would also be looking at Creed going, you better not have had that fucking video camera rolling.
He's like, that film's been burned, baby. I mean, it's just metaphorically speaking.
Right.
Because he said,
destroy the film or yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd die of embarrassment if I did something like that. It would just not be. And it just simply would rub me the wrong way.
If you did something stupid where you injured yourself.
Well, I've done that plenty of times, sweetheart, but never by dropping a lawnmower on myself. You're missing my reference. Yes, no.
I'm doing a little self-referential.
I caught it. I've just never done it by dropping a lawnmower on myself.
Okay.
My dad and I
brilliant
actually
man
trespassed on his 2B house. Because his house, it was a subdivision that was being built, and then we used to take, because we had a tandem bike, and we used to go biking through the whole subdivision, and there were parts of it that weren't built or finished yet, and we actually wandered through half-built houses in the richer part of the neighborhood. And there was one part that did have a walkout basement and a what's it called, in the master bedroom, a walkout porch,
like a balcony.
Yeah. And I was like, Dad, you should sell your house and get this one, and I should have the basement bedroom in the other house. And he's like, yeah, right. So you can escape when you're a teenager? How stupid do you think I am?
Yeah. I'm a few steps ahead of you, honey. Yeah, it's but I tell you, I love going through houses in varying stages of construction. That's always been something that's interested me. And I love watching framing being done. There's something about the geometry of it that I just find very elegant. But I understand their liability concerns. The biggest trouble I ever got in, as far as no TV for 2 weeks kind of trouble. Well, I mean, because I was a good little girl. My mother caught me on the scaffolding swinging around a chimney under construction on a new construction house like Tarzan, okay? Because I had, of course, the sense of a gopher. And she was like, you can probably break your neck. And, of course, I had been specifically told not to go over there and muck about in the new construction. So if she hadn't told me not to do it, I wouldn't have done it.
See, I blame
it's her fault.
I blame my mother for the fact that I had a broken collarbone at 2 years old because she specifically told me not to jump up and down on my change table.
Uh-huh.
So I did. Then I jumped off the change table.
Good girl.
And I still to this day remember the pain because I struck the corner of my dresser.
Oh, yikes.
With my collarbone. And I remember to this day my whole right arm just going completely limp and landing on my bed and just screaming.
And I told you not to.
Yep. And I remember my mom coming in going, are you okay? I told you not to do.
You can't help but say I told you not to because, my mother used to warn me about a number of things.
Yeah.
The most distinct one I remember is rocking back and forth on like a stuffed ottoman that was made out of leatherette. It was square.
Yeah.
And I'm rocking back and forth. And she said, you probably should stop doing that because you're likely to fall. Yeah. The thing is going to tip over. You're going to hit the floor, bust your face open. You're going to be upset. Don't do it. She goes back in the kitchen. About a minute and a half later, I fall on the floor, bust my face open, and I'm unhappy about it. I put my lower teeth into my upper lip. Felt really, really good. Well, I was the queen of busting my lip, as my dad used to call it. You're going to bust your lip if you don't stop running around the coffee table. Bam, boom, blood everywhere. And I spent several times with about 30 minutes of a bloodied paper towel with ice cubes in it, which actually almost hurt worse than the original injury because of how that cold feels.
Yep.
But idiot kid stuff. So Skep, how are you, Mr. I don't believe in gravity?
I'm doing fine. Before I tell my story, I do want to catch up with Harry and see what he's been up to.
No, you don't. You really don't. It's all just technology and it's boring and
not to me.
Speaking of tech, you're a little
you're crackly, Harry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you
like a cord's loose or a wire.
It's almost not.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm using that. Well, if it's correctly, I can't really explain why. Let me see if I can come up with some alternate.
It sounds like a loose circuit.
Trust me, you don't want to know. Let me see if I can come up with something else.
All right. Well, then while you're doing that, I'll tell my little tale of woe. So,
or your tale of woe.
Whoa! No kidding. So, I live in a house. We have a fairly substantial yard, and I've talked about the yard and garden and whatnot. And, even though I will turn 70 this year, I still mow my own grass and take care of my lawnmower. Take the blade apart, sharpen it, and was doing those behaviors. And I looked at the oil, and the oil was. I like to keep really top, keep the engine in as good a shape as possible.
Right.
Engine life in a small motor is all about changing the oil, really. Yeah. And so I looked at it and I thought, I'm going to change the oil. So I do what I do every year. I take the mower and I pick it up. And even though it's got a motor drive on it, it's still one person can pick it up. It's a little bit of a load, but you can. And I set it on 2 plastic garbage cans, the outdoor garbage cans.
As one does.
As you do. But wait. Well, you have to understand the nuance here. Because I had already picked it up and I looked and the wind had blown the tops off it was really windy. Right. And they had blown the top off of 2 of the garbage cans. And it was too much of a pain in the ass to go over and get another one with a top on it or walk across the thing, put the lawnmower down. I thought, I'll just put it on top of the garbage can, right, without the lid on it. In fact, it'd probably be more stable. I thought, boy, this, serendipitous. This will be great. This is going to work out fabulously. I didn't realize that there was a substantial amount of structural strength, evidently, provided by snapping the top, which snaps on quite firmly and is big, tough plastic and all that stuff.
Right.
And so when I put it on, I noticed, oh, wow, the side of that garbage can is almost buckling. But I'm just going to take the oil pan plug out, drain the oil, and put the oil pan plug back in. This will be fine. So I get underneath the thing, right? The trash can is buckling more. So did I get out from underneath, disassemble the rig, and make it the way that it has worked for years? No, I didn't do that. I said, I'll just do it faster. Okay. And so I started struggling. And of course, the oil pan plugs, they're always a bitch to get out after 9 months, probably been 9-10 months since I changed oil on this thing. And so I'm wrestling with this thing with a wrench, trying to get purchase on it and not slash my wrist on the thing. And I don't realize it, but one of the trash can next to my head is buckling. And I saw it just as it buckled, and the wheel and the corner of this pretty darn heavy lawnmower crashed into the center of my chest. And I thought to myself, fuck, that really hurt. And then I thought of all the, cardiac cases that I had, read about and stuff where people get a blow to the heart, like boxers get a blow to the heart and die. And people who die in car crashes frequently have very few marks on them, but they get a blow to the chest and they die because of the trauma to the cardiac region. So I thought, I wonder if I have screwed myself, and the pain, there are a lot of nerves there. The pain is just outstanding. It really commands attention. It really does. Real respect. And so I'm lying there going,
I bet.
I'm doing Flipper the Seal, right? Noises at this point. And I just shove the lawnmower, the whole rig, the assembly, off of me, and plow it across the thing, and just start uttering a string of really colorful swear words. In fact, the rocks were actually changing color as they encountered the string of invective that was coming out of my mouth. And I wobble to my feet, and I'm on my hands and knees, and nobody's around. There's nobody to help me, because you want to do these things by yourself in case something bad happens.
Right.
And so that way there's no one there to help you.
Right. Of course.
And so I crawled to my feet. I actually crawled over to the side of the house and walked myself up to the side of the house. I was so messed up. I just could hardly do anything with my left hand, my left arm. I mean, I felt, I just was really concerned that I had injured myself internally. And as it turned out, I irritated the costochondral joint. That's the joint where your rib joins your sternum, your breastbone.
Right.
And it's really nothing more than that. I'm making it into a much bigger story than it deserves, but it is absolute misery. And I will say one thing that I am grateful for. I applied for a Darwin Award and was turned down just barely.
Yeah.
And it did,
Darwin,
even at my advanced age, I can learn to be a little more careful.
This was Darwin walking up to you, tapping you on the shoulder and going, everybody gets one.
Well, yeah, of course. That
was
it was, sweetie. It was more like Dr. Darwin walking up and saying, "What are you doing in my lab again?"
Haven't I dismissed you before? What are you doing here?
I was just leaving, sir. Get out. So that was yeah. So I'm still,
dude. I
remembering that.
I feel bad for you, but the whole time in that story, did you ever watch Martymer, the Martymer 81 or whatever I think it is? He debunked a lot of the he was an early part of the skeptic community, and he went after a lot of the flat earthers. The gravity doesn't exist. And his one big thing was gravity, you fucking retard. Gravity. Haven't you ever heard of gravity?
That's the thing, it's 9.8 meters per second squared, and it's not just a good idea, it's the law.
Yeah. Oops.
But yeah. He's actually I believe he's a science teacher in his real life, but I think he's like Swedish or something. Like a Swedish I don't know if he still does YouTube, but Martymer, not Mortimer. I thought it was Mortimer for the longest time, but
you said Swedish?
81, yeah, Swedish, I believe.
As AOC would say, is that a country?
Yeah.
Is it part
so
of
anyway,
that's the
what are you going to do? You pick up and go on. And I've had some other things going on, just some personal things that have commanded my attention and energy the last couple of days. So I am I'm ready for just a relaxing evening of horsing around with my friends here on the interwebs and hanging with chat. It's really nice to be sitting in my recliner, sore as hell, but alive.
Sitting in your recliner. Yeah. Just still sitting in your recliner. It's nice to be still sitting in your recliner.
Be sitting anywhere, really.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say just the fact that you're existing is good because ways I tried to kill myself this week. It's like, well, I dropped. Now, I still think that you were trying to outstrip our friend, the Harry channel.
Oh, how so?
In creative ways of attempting to injure oneself.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Fatally.
What did Harry
I
do
understand
again?
what you're saying
I can't remember.
I believe it involved a Bowflex.
I dropped a Bowflex on my face.
What?
I love the way you wait because I gave you the segue, but it was the way you said, I dropped a Bowflex on my face.
What? How the fuck do you do that?
With extreme cleverness.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be laughing, but you're obviously all right. So
now.
Well, ish.
Ish. Well, that's, that all right thing is relative, isn't it?
I still have a few teeth that hurt when the weather changes, but
Bet. Dear God.
That's okay. I put my foot through my elliptical last week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Proud moments in exercise history by Blind Breath.
Great.
Wait, you put it through?
So
how does that work?
So my elliptical has a big plastic housing around the back of it where the flywheel is and where the slider bars go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had before I started running, I had taken a drink of water and put my water bottle back in the cup holder, which is at the front, but I must have accidentally dripped some water on one of the foot pads because when I started to warm up and thank God I was still going slow, but my foot slipped out from under me. And because of my momentum, it kind of went out right behind me and through the plastic housing.
Oh, you broke the plastic housing?
Yeah, right through and my foot almost got stuck between the wall of the housing and the slider bar. Had I been going faster,
you'd have broken your foot.
I'd have broken my foot. Yeah.
Good God. Well, congratulations. It's low rent compared to the Bowflex and the lawnmower, but it's still a significant accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was leaning on one of the windows of the house under construction that was on the second floor, and Cree said, I'm not sure that they have completely affixed all of these windows. Please don't do that. I was like, Jesus Christ. I hadn't even, I wasn't thinking. He said, the one over here is still shimmed, honey. I was like, fuck. I said, you just have to bury me alongside the foundation and not tell anyone what happened.
Yeah.
That's just, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe
where's your wife? I don't know.
That's stupid. It was like, God, this is why they don't want you in houses.
Yep.
I was like, I'm the living example of this, but oh boy.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
I can just imagine they'd be like, sir, where's your wife? Gree's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you came here with her and now you're not. I don't know.
The only thing I can tell you is I didn't kill her.
Yeah. It wasn't me.
Her own stupidity finally caught up with her. Honest to Pete, it's just some days you just want to congratulate yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, just to make it to the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. Fooling. I mean, it's like, wow, I only minorly injured myself on that event.
Oh, I used to freaking wave in the face of Darwin every day of my life in high school because we lived on a street that was, I think it was 6 lanes wide. And it had like right where I got off the bus was where it was like mid-block that I ran across the street. And there was a big bend right there.
Is that the road that is pictured in that picture that I've seen of you?
No.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
Different road.
All right.
And I was younger than in this story, I was much younger than I was in that picture.
Oh, okay.
But the intersection that my mom wanted me to use had no audible light, and getting there was no actual sidewalk. It was like a dirt path.
Yeah, you were pretty much hosed either way.
So that's what I said. I'm like, I'm fucked and it was a T intersection.
You must have sounded really cute at 8 years old saying, I'm fucked no matter what.
I was 16.
Oh, okay. I was just picturing little BP.
No. This was
I almost said your name out loud.
This was high school BP.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Much better.
Hello, non.
Okay, now I can tell you how I ended up here.
Okay.
A long time ago, before I had full disk encryption, I thought it would be clever to take like all of my browser preferences and other stuff and put it in like a little encrypted disk image. So when I'd start my computer, it would mount this encrypted disk image, and then everything would be fine.
You outsmarted yourself.
Now this, even though I have full disk encryption, I never bothered to take it down because why not? It's it's 1:45 at the bar. You're trying to get hooked up. How about extra prophylactics? Just why not have encryption layered on top of encryption for safety? Because that's what one does. Well, I'm using a very experimental file system called ZFS on the Mac because I'm insane. And I like running alpha versions of software that I use for storage. And it caused my Mac to lock up a bunch of times. And I had to hit the magic power button.
Is that the 128 byte thing? Is that a 128 byte file system?
The zettabyte file system? Yeah. It can have like one file for every atom in the universe kind of thing. It's ridiculous.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
It's insane. It's
okay.
insane.
I'm sorry. I just
so when it came back up, that file was open because that's what my browser was connected to, and it must have decided that that file got kind of lost in the nether, and so it came back up, and I didn't have that, so I haven't been able to use Firefox for the last few days.
Oh,
And so my backup disk is at my office, and I'm not at my office. So tomorrow I will restore it. But until then, I didn't have Firefox, and I completely forgot. The reason I use Firefox for StreamYard is because any of the Chrome-based derivatives on the ARM Macintosh seem to suffer from that horrible audio distortion. It's not a cable, it's not software, it's not bad karma. It's just some problem with StreamYard on Macs.
Harry, I've got a suggestion for you, bud. What you should look
buy
into
a PC? No.
Just you can copy all that stuff up to Microsoft OneDrive. All your encryption data, and all your encryption schemes, copy them up to Microsoft because they guarantee they'll be safe there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no allegations that the authenticator service that Okta provides might have been hacked today either.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a good day on computer security.
No, it wasn't.
I forgot you have a Mac, Harry.
I have an ARM Mac, one of the ones with the Apple Silicon. Yeah.
I'm the only person here with a Windows machine, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And Harry runs it.
I have a
daughter processor.
I have an ARM. A Windows 11 ARM system running in emulation right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you know anything about loopback?
Yeah.
Why can I not make my virtual device make sound?
That's a complicated question.
Yeah, that's a really complicated question.
All of the security stuff on the Mac makes it really hard to do virtual audio. You should probably make sure you're running the right, most recent version of Loopback, and then you need to check your permissions to make sure that everything has permission to talk to everything else.
Okay, so because I went in and I did the thing that it told me to do, like go into the recovery thing, and put it to change my security. Like it told me to do that, so I did that.
I don't think you should have to do that. But Loopback is a commercial product.
Yeah.
And it installs drivers that are signed.
Yeah.
So you should not need to change that security thing because basically that's the we trust you. Go ahead and just give me unsigned apps thing that they told you to change. And that isn't necessary.
Was it Loopback that asked for the security info?
Yeah.
Or not?
Are you using the commercial version of Loopback or are you using the thing that comes with that thing, OBS?
No, I went and I got the license for Loopback.
Okay. Well, I would say make sure you're running Loopback 2 version 2.28.
Okay.
And, make sure that your ACE drivers are installed all the way up to 11.7.8. And if it still doesn't work, you can ping me and I'll try not to laugh at you.
I'm learning. I don't know much about audio stuff, so I'm trying to learn how to do this because
she's only an egg.
I am only a newbie, so please don't laugh too hard.
You do fine. The main problem I have is that I'm terrible at desktop support.
Right.
Because I'm the guy that said, hey, I could work my triceps a whole different way, and then dropped a Bowflex on his face. So
yeah, your problem with desktop support is you have more brains in your left little finger than most people have in their brain.
Well, it doesn't get me off the hook for being shitty at communicating with regular users. That's
not
it's
shitty.
A skill.
You're too hard on yourself.
You know who's good at it is Geodes. I know
I don't doubt that at all.
Geodes has actually helped a couple minions with computer problems, and I know that on one instance he actually spent 3 hours helping somebody set up a Mac.
God,
oh, wow!
And he's not even a Mac guy, and he did that. So Geodes is a good dude. He's a much nicer human being than I am. Because there ain't no way I'm going to help anybody for 3 hours fixing a Mac.
I think one of Geode's strengths is number one, he's young and he hasn't completely run out of patience with the human race.
That's true.
The other thing about him
not wrong.
is he likes problem solving, and the added thing, he likes problem solving for other people, because I think he's got a very service oriented mind in that regard. And I mean that in the lofty term of service. to be of service to mankind.
Yeah.
He's just a good egg.
Yeah.
And very patient. If you can stand his puns, that's like the worst thing. And he's really toned his puns down.
I was raised by old people. I can handle puns.
Yes, yeah.
My grandfather, anytime the word rectum would come up, no matter what the
rectum
circumstance,
damn near
would
killed
just
him.
say rectum damn near killed him. He ejaculated. That was what he would just do.
Yep.
And it didn't matter what context, where he was, he would just do that. Because because ultimately all men are just children inside.
My mother said it. It was something of that generation, Harry, because rectum damn near killed him. I heard, I don't know how many times, and there were a couple other of those. That's not what was said, Mom. Kind of.
Hey, Chad has a relevant question here. W.R. Costin asks, which is more evil? Asking the Harry channel.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, which is more evil, Mac or Windows? But look, the way he worded it, it could be a choice between the Harry channel, Mac, or Windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, me. But
okay,
but between taking myself
who gets second place? Who gets second place?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like really what you're asking is who's the more evil company. And I would have actually gone Windows. I would have gone Microsoft for a long time until recently.
Right.
Yep.
There's a new thing in iOS, and I figure that's close enough to Mac that it answers your question, where they're essentially gathering fingerprints, like a digital fingerprint of all the images on your phone, and then comparing them against this database that they download. And if it looks like you have any CP on your phone, and this isn't saying that it's identical, just that the fingerprint matches, it will actually like turn you into some sort of non-governmental thing.
It will be reviewed by a human.
Yeah, some human will be looking at the images on your phone.
So they're doing the government spying for them.
Yeah. Well, they let an NGO decide who's going to go after them. Now, I'm not in favor of, unlike allegedly Ketanji Brown, what a great segue. I'm not in favor of letting people who do this crap off the hook. But at the same time, it is not Apple's job to police the content on people's phones.
No, and remember when they used to be so obstreperous about agreeing with the government on anything, about unlocking suspected terrorist
Wasn't
phones.
it Apple that refused to unlock Lisa Page's and so's iPhones?
Well, I would actually put that in the good column because I think that having security built in and not putting in backdoors is a good thing, because anytime you put a backdoor in for the government to get access to data,
it will be used.
It will be used by the wrong kind of people.
And there is something called a warrant.
Well, even with a warrant, they want them to force them to put a backdoor into these systems so people can get it.
No, I understand, because they really want to short circuit the warrant system.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, I still can't run Firefox, but I knew there were a bunch of things that used the same code base, and not just the Mozilla libraries, but roughly they're like forks of the open source version. So I'm using WaterFox, and WaterFox may actually work better for the audio than Firefox was. Because I go back and listen to the Saturday show just to count the number of times I say and because I like to torture myself. And I can hear when my audio gets a little flaky. And is it actually better now?
It is much better.
Oh, well, I like WaterFox.
Well, there's a hint of like static on it.
Every
static
like
clicks and pops every once.
but it's very light. Like it's
compared to what it was.
Oh yeah.
It's oranges and apples.
So much better.
But to answer your question, Costin, it depends on what you mean by evil. Like, are the companies evil and do they treat their customers poorly? Well, in terms of Apple does a lot of things right in terms of privacy, with that one exception on the phone, but they totally suck at things like right to repair.
Yeah.
And if that is something that's important to you, then Apple is more evil. Now, Microsoft kind of sucks because they produce a product that sort of by design is a lot less secure than it should be. And it exposes a lot of people to problems and abuse. You know, it's
Yep.
I think that it would be nice if systems weren't quite so easy
to modify.
Well, no, because like, you know, these hackers call up and say, "Hello, it's me from Bob from the Department of Windows," you know.
Yeah.
And next thing you've got some old person who can very easily give them full access to their system.
Yes.
It would be nice if maybe they did stuff to maybe protect seniors a little bit, like adding a pop-up box that says, "You do realize that Bob from the Department of Windows is really not Bob from the Department of Windows."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just maybe just like a little
young people
warning.
and old people, the naive, and you can enable it or not enable it. That would be a pretty easy fix for them.
Yeah, but that's problem chasing. The problem with that is it's problem chasing, and the problem just runs to the next place it can flourish. So, you know, let's say you put in something that says, you know, Bob from Windows. You know, I noticed that, you know, someone has referenced Windows. There is no indication that this is actually a person representing Microsoft. You may want to check and make sure the legitimacy of the person who is contacting you. You're going to have a message something like that, roughly, right? That's what you're thinking.
Well, no, I was just thinking about just sort of just a checkbox to say, you know, make sure you really know the identity of the person that they're in. Just a little tiny tweak in a UI that says we actually care about our customers not being ripped off when they get to be older. Just a little bit of child proofing in the OS that's used by like 80-something% of
almost like that two-step verification.
Just a little thing, and it would cost them nothing to do that.
It would cost them nothing.
It would cost them nothing.
The problem, another problem, and Prospero is probably better to speak to this than I am, but isn't there the possibility of a legal liability problem? Because I saw the thing from Microsoft that said, you know, this might be,
fraudulent.
Yeah, fraudulent. And for whatever reason, maybe it misinterpreted and the box came up or whatever. And so I missed the last conversation with my dying grandma, and now I want to sue Microsoft for $10 million for, you know, mental suffering.
You can sue anybody for any reason.
My point is, that would be a successful suit, wouldn't it?
I don't think it would be.
I'm not sure it would be, especially because this is a voluntary disable feature, like child safety features are.
Yeah.
Did it mislead the person who read the thing? That's
okay. If they're so fucking stupid as to not recognize grandma.
Okay.
On their FaceTime call, then that's their problem. I understand somebody would take it to court. I still think that would be one of those. Here's $10,000. Shut up and go away. Now you can bury grandma.
Yeah.
The world of goodwill they would get from it would be better than the world of ill will. But it could be that they've got some hyper-vigilant former trial lawyer who now works for them, who's like, no, I could make that case successful.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me.
I mean, I'd laugh the person. I'd be. You have to disqualify me from this jury because I'm going to laugh all the way through the trial.
Yeah.
Well, let me clarify because I think we're not necessarily talking about the same thing. What I'm talking about is giving a remote user permission to take over the mouse and the display and the keyboard effectively from the user. Basically, you're giving a remote user full access to your computer at the terminal level. I'm not talking about not answering the phone for grandma because it's, you know, she's trying to FaceTime you as she's like, you know, dying in a ditch or something. I'm not suggesting that you turn that sort of thing off. But so in the Apple ecosystem, right, you have to actually give each of these apps permission. So I had to go in and give permission to WaterFox to be able to access the camera and the microphone.
I had trouble getting in tonight because Chrome ran me through the series of allow, and I oopsied and said don't allow to camera.
Oh, oops.
And I was like, fuck. And then I had to go to system preferences, open it back up, click on Chrome, then reboot, then come back in.
Yeah. So at the point where you're about to give somebody you load this application, right? Or sometimes they'll have you load like TeamViewer or something like that, where you're about to hand over the keys to the kingdom. You just say, are you sure that this person is actually, like a legitimate tech? These types of applications are often used by people who try to commit fraud or something. Just some little pop-up. You just have to say, yes, this is actually something I want to do.
Jesus Christ, it'd be pretty funny if you asked Google to do that for Gmail, because it would, the number of morons in this universe who will not verify shit they're getting on their emails, and then they invite the world in.
Yeah, it's all fine. It's all peace and love. But if you go to Best Buy and you go to that thing that they used to sell sunglasses on that now just has gift cards that can be activated, right? So you've got your Google gift card and your Spaghetti Factory and, all this different stuff, right? You can buy gift cards in various denominations. So the scammers try to convince people to send them these gift cards sometimes as part of their elaborate scams, right? So they hijack your screen and they say, oh, you're spending $4.99 to renew this thing. I don't want to renew that. Cancel it. Okay, fine. So then they take control of the computer, dummy up a thing that makes it look like they actually sent like $4,900 instead of $490. And then the guy starts talking about how he's going to lose his job. And the only way for him to save his job is to send him a bunch of Amazon gift cards. So when you go to Best Buy, in a lot of places like Best Buy, you will now see a little sign on that thing saying, no legitimate person is going to ask you to buy a gift card to like save their job. It doesn't actually say that, but there's like a little sign just in case, just as a final little thing so that you don't defraud old people.
I think that's a fine thing on the part of Best Buy. By the way.
So you just do that. Just sort of like give just the tiniest of shits about your customers. So in terms of evil, there's like the intentional evil of stuff that Apple does, like making it so you can't repair your own thing and go through people's pictures and
you touch a screw on that box and your warranty.
You can run into problems. You basically have to buy AppleCare. I mean,
yes,
for a whole bunch of other reasons, you pretty much have to buy AppleCare.
And they still can't fix some of the issues because my MacBook Pro, the keyboard's fucked up again. And it had nothing. And it had nothing to do with the cat. My other one,
don't even get me started on keyboards.
My other one did the same goddamn thing. Cree was using my computer the other day to download those videos to me.
Doing some COBOL programming?
No. No.
He did SQL.
He did COBOL to start. That's what he started.
That's what
career doing it back in the dark ages. But
it's very readable. Very readable.
Well, he loved it. He said it was a great business
Look, you can show the boss, and then the boss goes, "That looks like a thing I understand."
Yeah.
Everything ends with a period.
Yep.
And then everything shifted to web-based programming, and he learned how to do some of that. And then he said, "I really want to retire."
There's object-oriented COBOL, believe it or not.
Oh no, I know that. And
you mean like Snowball?
Yeah, Snowball. Yeah.
He knew that was down the road, but everybody shifted towards SQL and
you can. Anyway,
with his company.
We're not going to.
That's a rabbit hole on the other side.
Yeah, I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
My keyboard, I have 5 keys that the letters are no longer legible on.
Oh,
are you losing the desire to live now, BP?
Yeah. No, I do need to go to bed because I got to get the boys to school in the morning. So, and Skep, are you?
Please drive carefully.
Are you able to be Wednesdays with Skep?
Absolutely. Will you please try and remind me in the morning?
I will.
I don't space out.
I will DM you. Also, Star Trek stream this Saturday. We're gonna be catching up to the episodes of Picard. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover episodes 2 and 3 on Saturday.
2 and 3, okay.
And then 4 and 5 next Saturday, and then after that, it's gonna be 1 per week.
Don't drop a lawnmower on my chest. No
more dropping things on your chest.
Got it. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Picard. It says here you have signed up for Best Buy support plan. I am Bob.
I am Bob, your support analyst.
I am Bob, your support hologram.
How's the weather in Bangalore, Bob? What?
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, at any rate, go get your beauty rest. Thank you for being here, and it's always great to hear from you, hang with you.
All right.
We'll see you on the coffee stream. We're doing it at 11 12 Eastern,
PM.
11 Central.
Yeah,
12
daytime
Eastern.
coffee drinking hour.
Yes. It's always time for coffee.
BP, I hope tomorrow is as awesome as today was, because today really was a banner day.
Thank you. I hope tomorrow is a good day too. So and Harry, I probably will be bothering you because Loopback is up to date and everything is
Sweet.
up to date, and looks like permissions are permitted. So
Well, set your expectations to low, but I'll be happy to help as best as I can.
Well, I will be as receptive and listeny as I can, so that things will go as smoothly as possible. Okay.
All right. Hit me up in Discord.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night. Good
night, hon.
We'll see you tomorrow.
So Skep, when I was
Yes, sir.
when I was saying that doing that borderline racist half impression, I wasn't really trying to do the full thing. If I was trying to do it, I would sound much more authentic. I'm trying to do a half-ass version of it. In a previous episode of the Tuesday stream, I believe we were talking about the origins of certain food influences between sort of the not Arab but Persian cultures and the Indian cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we got into this discussion of sort of a chicken and egg, like which thing started which thing. I actually know the answer now.
I would love to hear that.
It was the Mughals and the Persians that influenced the Indians, not vice versa. Because a bunch of them actually migrated.
Okay, so the Persians are going over and to the right.
Yep.
And
settling to the north and the east.
What year range are we talking here?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably like 1,000 years ago kind of thing. If you look at India and you look at regions where more meat is consumed, and you go up into the Kashmir regions and which are just beautiful mountain regions, not like the dry deserty thing where you go, how do people survive, let alone thrive? Because they're thriving. You've got like chubby Indian people running around in a desert. And it's like, where the hell do you find food to eat? You're in a desert. But Gupta's, walking around with a, big old paunch. He's got a fupa. And I don't know how these people manage to feed themselves, but in the more meat eating areas, not the more vegetarian areas, there's a strong sort of, Persian. I'm probably not clear on the Persian Arab thing, and I don't want to screw it up because I know you know and I don't know.
The Kashmir region makes sense though, because that's northwestern India.
The Mongols went into Kashmir. I know that, but that's like 1300.
The Mongols are. I may be getting screwed up, but it is the other way around. It was sort of the Middle Eastern people of unspecified origin, because I'm ignorant, who came over and went
other Asians
who moved into and became rulers in certain regions. I mean, India is a huge ass place. And you can't just get out one paintbrush and paint, all of India, because
it's almost as big as Texas.
Kerala is like a completely different food culture because of the influence, the traditional influence plus the influence from the French, versus Delhi. These totally different things versus Kashmir, totally different type of stuff. So the prevalence of the meat and a lot of the spices. So it was not the Indians influencing the Middle East; it was the other way around.
All right.
And before anybody says anything in chat, I do know that India is 7 times the size of Texas. So stop.
And it does make sense if you consider where the Khanate roamed to, because they never controlled all of India, but they did butt up against the northern regions because they controlled the Nepal area. Don't ask me why. I was looking at a map of the empire of Genghis Khan, and airs, but I was just because I do things like that. Just so you know, Skep isn't the only one that disappears down rabbit holes.
It's important for rabbits to be true to their nature.
Well, also if you consider
we are rabbits,
the growth of the Persian culture. I mean, the varying regions from Babylon to Persia, having strong preceding civilizations.
Babylon to Persia, you're covering some territory there, girl.
I am, but it was peopled, or at least nomadically so. That when
those were trade routes, of course.
Well, yeah, and they were prime trade routes. But if you're looking at 1,000 years ago, give or take, I mean, you could be charitable and go 800 years ago. The Khanate could have done some of it. But it doesn't surprise me because of how old Persian culture is, that would possibly precede Indian culture. And with the meat people, it makes more sense because of the seasonings needing to be stronger in some regard.
Well, the seasoning thing,
as well as the preservative,
but that's not just the meat eating people. There were water quality problems, in various regions, and
not like now.
No, not like now. And so they have some weird philosophical beliefs about, like a lot of people do about food, right?
Yes.
I mean, we used to think about balancing humors and all this other BS.
Right. And we have the Levitical prescriptions against certain foods because of lack of refrigeration. Primarily, if you look at those things that are no-no-nos, between trichinosis and rapid spoilage.
Can you full screen me, Skep?
Absolutely.
Oh, isn't that a pretty little wheel o' spice?
So this is a show that's on the fine Netflix, and Raja Razoy and whatever the hell that is pronounced.
Kanhanian.
Thank you. This is actually a great documentary. Or it's a series, a season, and I've been learning a lot. It's pretty hardcore. So if you want to learn more about the food history of India, this is a great documentary, but you got to be pretty motivated. I would actually just go with Rick Stein's India as a slightly more accessible.
Rick Steves?
Rick Stein.
Oh, Rick Stein. Okay.
Who's a different guy than Rick Steve.
I thought you meant Rick Steves. I'm so sorry.
Rick Steves is the guy who's like constantly wearing lederhosen going, "Come with me to Europe." It's like, no, this is a different dude.
Rick Stein. I've never heard of Rick Stein.
He's a BBC guy. But that's actually really accessible sort of stuff. Now, this series is great because parts of it were obviously filmed in English, right? So they'd interview people and they would respond in English. But it was originally made for the audience in India. So they would take the English and then voice over and then add subtitles. But then they've taken that Indian show and now added more subtitles on top of it to make it back into a show that people in English are there. Because you'll be watching part of it going, I know he's speaking English, but I'm getting like a translation and then subtitles of the translation. It's a little frustrating at times, but if you're actually motivated, this is a really good documentary.
It's kind of a pity they didn't restore it to its original before that. They probably just didn't have it anymore.
You mean don't take the English thing, convert it into Japanese, have it become a bestseller, and then convert the book back into English?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
There's an episode of News Radio devoted to that thing, that concept. So the eccentric billionaire wrote a book called Jimmy James. Jimmy James Corporate Capitalist Lion Tamer, and it got translated into Japanese and then back, and it got changed into Jimmy James Macho Business Donkey Wrestler. And then they go through this.
I love that.
They go through this whole thing of them doing it. It's a great episode of.
Now wait, what was the original name?
Jimmy James Capitalist Lion Tamer.
All right, Jimmy James. Capital.
No, the episode title is Super Karate Monkey Death Car. So you can find that on. I'll just find it and put the link in the chat.
Super Karate Monkey Death Car. I love that.
Yeah.
It's just like I just love the.
You can unembiggen me now. I think we've given them enough free advertising.
The weirdly literal translations, it's like the very, very peculiar and strangely literal Chinese translations.
Mm-hmm.
Where some American advertisement becomes "Please don't rape your mother by me."
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wait, we don't have a product remotely named that. How did you come to? And it's because of the vast language of China and who's doing the translating. No, you don't know idiomatic English, do you?
Yeah, I don't really have any facility for foreign languages. That's why I learned a little bit of German, because I figured if I just stayed in the same language group, I might stand a chance.
Yeah.
How
did that work out? Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about German.
About as well as somebody taking German as a night class at a community college is going to end up after a year of it.
Yeah, the thing I was happiest about is I learned the rules of pronunciation.
It's fun to put this in. If you run it back and forth between Japanese and English in Google Translate, I get Jimmy J. Lion, Spa Moki Handecker.
Okay. If you got that up, you should try to translate it to Pidgin. Everything should just be in Pidgin.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
I love BBC Pidgin.
So do I.
Pidge.
It's great. Yeah. Absolutely great. And the fun thing is that you really can read most of their articles. As long as you start thinking, how would people who really only speak some English handle the language?
I know just what you mean. When I'm reading Pidgin, it's like if I turn off like 3/4 of my brain, I can read it almost as fast as I can read English, and they have very high comprehension. But I have to kind of I can't concentrate on it too hard. I have to take some distance back and just let it kind of marinate over me.
It's particularly the pronoun handling and the
you can't get caught up in a bunch of little rules about that.
And
got to figure out the flow of it.
And tenses, the whole tenses of verbs. Just skip it. Go to the infinitive of that verb and plug it in.
Right.
And work
just
from
like
there.
Those of us who speak other languages poorly do.
Yeah.
Yes. Infinitive is your friend.
Yes. And it's that to me makes reading Pidgin kind of fun. It's a little bit like reading backward.
Mm-hmm.
That you just have to kind of go, all right, relax and just do this.
I'll talk some of that kind of thing. Yeah.
And it reading upside down, just kind of requires, I don't know.
You mean like reading Australian?
Yeah, precisely. But you know how they'll do those things. If you can read this because they've scrambled letters, and all I can think of is, wow, there's a dyslexic's nightmare. And of course we can, because we were taught both whole word and phonetic. So you take those letters and you just reorder them properly very quickly if you did both phonics and whole word reading. I'm grateful for that, because I know there are people who cannot do that. And it's not because they have dyslexia. It's because how they were taught to read of the sounding out everything rather than remember the flashcards, Skep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, red, blue, yellow, orange, you know, those kinds of things, so that we had that combination of sounding out and whole word reading.
Yep.
And if you're primarily a whole word reader, you can also misunderstand signs sometimes hilariously.
Do they even teach phonics anymore?
I'm sure they don't.
Harry, do you know?
Phonics? I have no idea.
It got really, really, really big, and then suddenly it went away. It was partially being used when I was in school.
I'm a big fan of phonics.
Yeah, I was too.
I emphasized it with my kids and my grandkids.
I thought it made a lot of sense. The thing that never made sense to me until I realized how much fun dictionaries were. Yes, I'm that kind of nerd. Was when I would ask my parents how to spell something and they'd tell me to look it up. And I'm like, if I don't know how to spell it, how the fuck am I supposed to look it up? Realizing they were demanding I sound things out and also learn like that very indistinct it used to be designated in pronunciation guides before they went to the new guide, which is illegible to me. The upside down E, the vague sound that we use, you know, women. It's an kind of vowel sound, and it's why we will be trying to spell something and lose our minds because we're like, is it an A, an E, or an I that goes there? You know what I mean? We don't say parabolic. We say parabolic. Or diligent. Is that are you for sure that's an I? Because there are times that E's make that sound. It goes back to what George Bernard Shaw said, that according to the rules of English pronunciation, the word fish should be spelled GHOTI. Because it was the GH from rough, the O from woman, and the TI from nation. And you end up with fish.
Good Lord. English is fucked.
It's fucked, but it's fascinating because it's fucked.
It is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, that's dictionary girl.
I know, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now. Also, don't ever buy a dictionary that doesn't have etymology in it. It's not worth the money.
Word up, homegirl.
That's under E, isn't it?
Yes, etymology. There's another one. How do you spell that? E-T-Y. Okay, never mind.
Isn't that about bugs?
Yeah, no, that's gastroenterology.
Or they either think it's entomology or etiology, which is the study of being, of existence.
Yeah.
I doubt many people think it's etiology.
Yeah, but
because if you know what etiology is, you're not going to be thrown off by entomology.
I did when I was in the 4th grade. I did think I did get mixed up with etiology. I really truly did.
Wow. Yeah. That's a trick.
Yeah. I was an imbecile.
Well, no, you were reading an encyclopedia.
No, one of your $20 words got you confused about one of your $5 words. That's the part that was amusing me.
Well, that's why etymological dictionaries are so important, because if you learn word roots, you will have a better chance of knowing what a word means.
Preach it, sister. Preach it.
If you run into a word like with hydro in it, guess what? It's going to have something to do with water.
Yeah.
You know, so if you run into a quiz
or hydrogen.
Kind of. Because of hydrogen being an element of water, but never. Oh God! God, I'm spurging out.
AOC would say, "Well, hydrogen is 2/3 of water." No, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's both of them have to be there at the same time, sweetheart.
No, but the weight of an individual atom doesn't matter. All atoms are equal, Skep. Right. It doesn't matter. Exactly. It doesn't matter if you've only got one. You're basically discriminating against people who don't have as many protons.
Yeah, and you're right.
You're a proton,
AOC's
a
world,
protonist.
in AOC's
I don't think she knows what a proton is.
A proton agonist. No, I don't think she has any.
I'm fairly confident she does not know what a proton.
You know,
is.
in her world, everything would be ruthenium, because that's the middle. You know, that's the middle element. That, you know, half of things, half of the elements have fewer, and half of them have more. So they all average out. Actually, it would probably come closer to.
How much you want to bet?
Probably. Let's say. Hang on. It's not in the actinides. It is. God damn it. Probably around cesium.
You know what I bet she also falls for? Which weighs more, a pound of gold or a pound of feathers?
Which one falls faster on the moon? She'll get that one wrong.
Yeah. Is it a pound? Did it say it was a pound? Now those are like those are those questions, just like those quizzes. I'm sure they don't do this now. I imagine we all got them, where the instructor handed out a quiz and said, please read the instructions all the way through before completing the quiz. And the very last line of the instructions was, put your name in the upper left-hand corner and return this piece of paper to me. And you could tell who had read all the instructions, not by whether they dove into the quiz. And so if you read all the instructions, and they were very sly about it, because they just say, please read all the instructions before completing the quiz. Well, how many of us really did that with quizzes? We just dug into the quiz.
Sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah. And I can remember walking my paper to the front and a couple of people looking up at me like, what? And I thought,
because you read all the way through.
Well, they specifically said that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And my guess is it wasn't said every time. And I noticed the difference, because I started to look at the questions and said, wait a second. And it wasn't because I'd been punked before like that, you know, because I guess I was 7th grade or 8th grade, you know, I mean, nobody had done it prior to then. Somebody tried to do it afterwards, and it was like, yuck. Which side of the paper do you want me to put my name on?
That's, it, you know, surprises with quizzes and things like that. I like stories like that, and I have a pretty good one myself. Are you in the mood for an anecdote?
Please.
Sure.
All right. This has to do with young Skep Tock entering the master's program at Southern Methodist University in 1983. And you get accepted into the executive MBA program there about 6 months before you start. And it's a long, involved process. It's a little bit different from the regular process. And you know, Frank, there's a lot, you go through a lot of stuff. Anyway, they send you, when you're finally accepted, they said, and the first thing they said was, this, you know, we are going to send you some programmed instruction. It is essentially 1 year of accounting courses. This is what a person who minored in accounting would be able to do at the end of their undergraduate year. We suggest strongly that you complete all of this, know everything that's in this. And this thing was huge. It was 1.5 inches thick of single space type thing. It took me, and I'm a fast worker at this kind of stuff, and I applied myself. It took me 3 months to get through this thing. But at the end of it, I was pretty damn good double entry bookkeeping. You know, I'd done journalized accounting in the Navy as a Navy finance guy. And so, you know, I had the right background for it, but I had never really done hardcore double entry bookkeeping. So this whooped me into shape. So I was very proud of myself and happy that I was well prepared, you know, for the upcoming thing. So the big day came, and it was orientation day. And so we get together and they have this really deluxe breakfast. SMU is a really nice campus. It's Cadillac, everything's very nice. And everybody's really cordial. We're so happy. You are the future leaders of business. Real lots of stroking, and we are going to do it. We have various, semi-famous people, coming in to talk to you and tell you how great you are and how much they expect from you and this, that, and the other thing. And so hang on, don't spoil it, because I know Prospero knows the story. So then they said, okay, we're going to have lunch. And they had, when we got scheduled for orientation day, they had the morning laid out, and then the afternoon just said afternoon session. That's all it said on it. And so we all went for lunch and we're talking with the professors, having a great coking and smoking, just having a great old time. And we go back to the big lecture room where we were, and it would actually be the room that I spent the next 2 years in. And there were blue books on the desks. Everywhere there were blue books. And if you know what a blue book is, that's something you write examinations in. And as we sat down, we thought, blue books, what is this about? I guess we're going to be writing something. What? Everybody kind of looked around at each other. And all of the other professors, everyone else had disappeared except for about 3 TAs. And the guy who it turned out was our accounting professor. And he said, welcome to your first midterm. 1/3 of your grade will be of your accounting grade. One of the most important grades you have in an MBA course is going to be based on what you do over the next 2.5 hours. We're handing out the examination now. You have 3 hours. Boom. That was the afternoon session for orientation. I still love that. A guy who had a PhD in political science just got up and walked out, thereby forfeiting the $5,000 in cash that his company had laid down. He quit the program that afternoon rather than embarrass himself. Obviously had not taken it seriously. A bunch of people failed, like out of 40 people, 38 people in the class, I think 6 of them failed. And these are accomplished people. These are people who drive Ferraris. These are people who make $1 million a year. I mean, very senior people in the Dallas business arena make a ton of money. I was by far the poorest person in the class. And it was absolutely delightful to see them go down in flames because they had blown off the work. And it's like Prospero says, if you're going to do something, do it thoroughly, read things thoroughly, look at instructions thoroughly, and simply do basic common sense things. Do it with a bit of integrity, and you can be one of the laughers instead of one of the laughees.
Well, when they tell you
yes
to do the prep work,
they did not tell us about the test. We had no idea that was going to happen.
When they tell you to do the prep work, we need to know, you need to know this going into this program.
Yeah.
I would have looked at it like, holy crap, they're giving me a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I start class, I will already be wildly familiar with all of it, and it will be reinforced learning. Only to get in and find out, well, holy Hannah, they intend to test me on it. Now, it doesn't mean my bowels wouldn't have liquefied, but it would have been, all right, let's see how much I know. Even if I got through it with a Midland C, I'd be like, well, thank Christ I did what they told me to do.
Actually, as you just point out an interesting point. The distribution of grades in this tended to be mostly A's and B's because most of the people had done the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else got an F.
Uh-huh.
A serious F. And,
so it was a very fair exam based on what they had
very fair. Very fair.
And particularly what the self-guided coursework covered and reinforced and covered and reinforced.
I actually handed in my I was the first student to hand in my paper. So I was up there talking with the instructor. We're quietly talking in this little alcove area and up in front of the lecture hall. And he said, "How was the test? Was it too hard?" And I said, "No." I said, "It's an interesting surprise." He was an old retired Air Force officer, accountant. I like this guy. And he was a Greek guy, Professor Constance. And he got this evil look in his eye. He says, "Yes, I always loved the unexpected nature of this," or something like that. He was delighting in the moment. It was just one of those moments of my life I'll probably never forget. It was just sitting up there basking in how perfectly I had guessed that pitch.
What I think is cool about it is also,
and I got a 96 on the exam, by the way.
Congratulations. They lulled everyone into a relaxed mood. Also,
yes.
So
that was just perfect.
So in many ways, most of you had forgotten that they had quite rigorously not demanded, but requested that this stuff be completed. You're like, okay, so this is like high school, that first day where you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good because I know this is going to be a very rigorous program. And then the reckoning after lunch. And it's like, number one, they weeded out the men from the boys and the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
But they also took down a notch some of the arrogant fucks that thought they were going to waltz through an MBA program, because I already pulled down a 6-figure salary and drive this biffy.
Yeah, we actually did have another guy who said, "I thought this was going to be like some management, seminars that I was just going to attend."
Yes,
and then I'd get my MBA.
I do have a couple thoughts about this. I've known several people who have taught at fancy universities, and by fancy I mean
world
private
class.
More private ones with really good reputations that are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you,
I bet I know which ones.
Oberlin,
maybe,
yeah,
but no, not Oberlin.
But
no, the thing is a lot of the students, there's this expectation that if you pay a lot of money, you're going to at least get a C because you basically bought the grade.
Right.
And it's not,
absolutely,
to my mind, a good thing to do at all. But most places, when you pay real money now, they will not fail you. Because that's
that
part
true?
Of it's part of the.
Oh my God, are you shitting me?
I wouldn't make a joke about something like this, but I do have another thought when we get back to this.
How I got to college, as far as the financial thing, had zero zippity fuck all to do with how I was going to do in school.
Well, it's particularly onerous in things where like liberal arts type stuff. Because
I was in the liberal arts and in a private school, but I went to college in the 1970s, which had a different MO entirely, and certainly
move forward to the 1990s. And, I mean, I don't know if this is true at every single school. Like, I don't know, for instance, if that happens at Reed, but I know that at Stanford, I've definitely heard people say that's a fairly common practice.
God, well then no
also
wonder.
Also Willamette and a number of other ones where people just you just get passed if you pay.
No wonder all those privileged fucks got into such trouble with that influence buying and stuff on behalf of their kids.
Oh, I know, but but if you get something like an MFA, unless you're going to one of the small handful of people who actually get a job in theater, for instance, or you become a teacher, what are you going to do with an MFA? Master of Fine Arts. Just
you can put it on your resume.
Yeah, you can put it on your resume, and you'll be the most artistic barista when you're writing people's names on cups. You can put some little fleur de lis around it or something. You can explore. You can explore the negative space. You can do all kinds of cool things.
You could make currency caddies for your bank telling job.
Yeah, you could make little origami swans and then just like have them sit on the edge of the cup. Like, oh wow, not only did they draw like a leaf, but there's a little origami swan.
Well, I do know some people that went into like appraisal work for banks and things like that because they had studied fine arts, art, that kind of thing.
Yeah, nobody gets hurt if you basically buy an MFA. Is sort of the point I'm clumsily.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's not like designing a bridge.
But buying an organic chemistry degree and
you can get a lot of people killed.
Yeah,
that's a little different. You know, think about that guy who got into University of California, Davis Medical School ahead of Stephen Bakke, and became an incompetent and that's not unfair to say, an incompetent gynecological surgeon who eventually was sentenced to jail when he simply had killed too many women with his surgeries, with his poor surgeries.
Yeah, there are serious consequences in the STEM. Like, okay, the math on this airplane is close enough. Yeah. No, you remember when
No, you don't know why I'm laughing. I'll tell you after the show.
Well, you remember the chip thing? Intel had a problem with one of their chips that at the 7th decimal or whatever it was making.
Oh God, yeah, I'm extremely familiar
with this
problem.
I'm twitching.
Okay,
I'm twitching.
I can remember people saying, "Well, that's not that big of a deal," and my comment was, "Aeronautical engineers would beg to differ."
You've got a single precision wit in a quad precision world, my friend.
Yes, indeed.
Because I was like, excuse me, you do understand that NASA objects, I mean, you're talking where calculations go on as long as the New York City phone book. You can't be making errors at the 7%. You just can't be making error. Okay. If the error occurs at the 2000th percentage point, it's probably not going to have a lot of impact. But we better check.
Now, you're thinking of the floating point divide problem, right, Harry?
Oh yeah, it came up. Right. I'm thinking it was 92 or 93, but my memory may be a little shaky.
I think it was 1994, because of the job that I had when that came out. It was a 1-year contract, and I think it was late 1994, almost 1995 when that happened.
You know what the worst thing was about this thing is just how smug the people who didn't use Intel processors got for a while.
Yes,
yeah.
I remember
you just you just shut up and wait. It'll be your turn soon enough, Sparky.
Yeah, everybody gets a turn in the barrel.
Everybody gets a turn in the humiliation booth.
Right. Well, yeah,
they just throw pies at you and say, "What did you do? I bought IBM. You can't get mad at me.
You can't fire me.
I bought Blue."
Stupid shit happens, but it was one of those things that it really was kind of like in some popular media, like mainstream media. Well, not much problem was anticipated from this, and it was like, please add the caveat in home computing. I mean, for the people who are like playing, you don't know Jack at home or Pong, they're not going to have an issue.
Well, yeah, since they're using an 8-bit processor on Pong, but yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was this kind of blasé thing, and I was like, I don't think you get math as well as you think you get math if you don't think there is a serious issue here. I mean, the Intel people were setting themselves on fire, okay? They knew it was a serious problem.
Well, it is a serious problem because there's 2 ways you can do math in one of these computers. You can do it in software, which is super fun, or you can do it in hardware, which is much more fun because it's faster. So you essentially tell the processor, I know you're just a dumb lump of silicon, but it'd be really swell if you would do this thing for me so I don't have to do it in software. And so when you would do certain floating point things, the digits off the end would get all screwed up. They were not correct. They did not conform to the IEEE standard for the arithmetic that was taking place. There's an actual standard for how this is supposed to work. Didn't conform. The real scandal is that these things ever shipped, because everybody makes mistakes. But how these things actually shipped with this mistake is a problem, because people didn't. You're thinking of like one person having one of these things. There are people who had
millions
systems with thousands and thousands of these things in them, like building supercomputers. So if you're, say, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, you're going to have a bad day when you're trying to model nuclear detonations.
Yes.
And suddenly your multi-million dollar computer is not fit for purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's how people die. You know, if and it's everybody acted as if the single greatest importance of computers was to the home user.
Well, they didn't understand. They don't know like what Boeing does with virtual wind tunnels, for example. Yeah. I
mean, what modeling is done through computers, because I was kind of like, you know, that moment when Spock asked the computer to calculate pi to its final digit in that Star Trek episode, and everything goes.
No, I blocked this.
Cattywampus.
Is this a thing that happened? Oh, was that with the androids? Logic is pretty flour that smells bad.
I can't remember which episode it was.
One of the Harry Mudd episodes.
But it was
Harry Mudd's women.
Mudd's women, yes.
Yeah,
Mudd's women, yeah.
You've been drinking.
Spock just fucked up. You know, but it was the tying up the computer, doing the calculations. Yeah. And I was like, okay, think that everywhere where science and math, higher math are used, just stopped working.
Well, actually,
no one at Intel tested it properly.
You know, actually, the pi thing wouldn't use that part of the
No. I don't mean that the pi thing. I was saying that how Spock was able to disable a computer
by giving it an unsolvable
problem. I said, what you've done now is, as he was able to fuck up that computer, you've fucked up everybody working in higher math. And it's just.
Well, I can explain why it's important. So you've probably heard of this thing called chaos theory.
Yes.
Where the idea that incredibly small changes can lead to big differences in outcomes.
I thought you were talking about grandchildren.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing.
So somebody who's not into, dynamic stuff, in terms of mathematics, a more classical person would simply say, what you have here is what's called sensitivity to initial conditions. Meaning that if you put in two numbers into this thing and say what's going to come out the other end, very, very, very tiny changes can cause problems. Mm-hmm. Now, most things that involve this type of mathematics deal with time steps. So you start at time 0, and then you advance things. You basically do a calculation. You say, okay, so now I'm at time 0 plus some increment. Mm-hmm. And then you take the ending point of the first calculation, and that's the input to the second calculation. Mm-hmm. So you just keep iterating on this data. So when you have these tiny little shifts, if you're dealing with something that's dynamic or sensitive to initial conditions, time n, step n, then has the input to n plus 1, and then n plus 1 is n plus 2. Mm-hmm. The error just multiplies and just blows up in your face. It's a real problem. And you may say, but Harry, things like this don't happen. Imagine a V-22 Osprey, which is the tilt rotor aircraft that the Marines have. That is an incredibly hard thing to model because each pass of that rotor blade produces effects in the atmosphere, which you can model with particles. And so as each revolution of this thing goes around, you've got 4 different blades producing each of their own turbulence. And the turbulence from each pass gets modeled into the next pass, into the next pass. So trying to model how this thing is going to fly is actually insanely complicated because of the math that's involved. Because then you have to talk about how this interacts with the
for
wing on the
stupid
plane
people
and the
like
whole
me,
deal.
it's at an exponential level of
Yeah, it just basically spins out of control because not only is it a tiny error, but it's a tiny error that gets massively multiplied, and then just multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And if you're lucky, actually, when you're running a simulation like that, it will just blow up. You'll just go, that is an impossible number. That doesn't work. I just overflowed. And then you go, something's wrong. And then you spend weeks and weeks scratching your head trying to figure out why you're a dumb programmer. So it's almost good news when you find out, the computer's actually broken, because most of the time that is not the answer.
Yeah. But that's it. That just remained as one of the more stunning technological fails that got blown off in the media until overwhelming voices kind of weighed in and said, no, this is a big deal, which is why all the people over at Intel look vaguely nauseous.
Well, Intel ended up eating the cost on this. It's not it's not like consumers had to bear the brunt of it.
Oh no.
And especially on like big government contracts and big commercial contracts, Intel had to make it right.
Well,
they had to basically make whole their consumers.
I mean, I remember the recall, and I remember once it got the traction and got the attention of people that knew something more than, I don't calculate anything that far.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
In that one-time calculation that you did, yeah, you're fine. But, if you just added up your grocery bill for the month, that's not going to be a wrong answer. But, It was just one of those where, how we've complained about science and mathematic communication? That was one of the first really early fails when that story first broke that I ran into, because of commentary being kind of blasé about it. And of course, the first thing I thought of is, if any aircraft had been built using this, I'm not flying in the next year.
Do we know anything more about that 737 that decided to go
just
the Dash 800 in China?
Spike into the ground like a missile? Yeah. That was
suboptimal.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the great people's leap downward. They're working on prototyping a 737 that can fly through the Earth instead of around it.
The great plunge downward.
Yeah, because of the whole 2πr thing. They're figuring out they're gonna cut this thing in half.
I saw a still photo. I was just like, when I saw the still photo, I was like, I have absolutely no interest in seeing any video of this.
The interesting thing about that is that when you have that kind of speed into the ground, let's say they're going 300-400 miles an hour, and they impact the ground, essentially what happens is, in less than a tenth of a second from the time the nose of that plane touches the Earth, there's nothing recognizable left. I mean, the kinetic forces that are brought to bear on the structures in that, and the people in that, and it has a very interesting kind of a weird, dark dividend for the passengers. They're sitting there terrified, going down really fast, and suddenly St. Peter appears, and they didn't feel or notice anything. They literally, because the reason for this is that it, as I've said many times on the show, it takes about 1/24th of a second for your peripheral system to report anything to your central nervous system. And you go from an intact human being
particleized stuff,
to fragments in certainly less than a tenth of a second, probably a few hundredths of a second.
Yep. So except for the plunge, they were spared.
They did not notice the end.
Yeah. And some people might have lost consciousness during the plunge. It would just depend.
But they definitely lost consciousness once they landed.
Well, Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm just saying.
And I'm married to a person that says shit like that too, so I don't know why I even react to it.
Can't get away from it.
I know, it's just
personal
like
hell.
Thanks, Captain Obvious. It's just trying not to think about that part. It's just
my God.
And then there was a pretty pink mist and flowers bloomed. It was.
Do you know what we managed to do tonight? We managed to go the whole night without talking about what's her name on that court thingy.
Yeah.
Actually,
you mean the one thing that we actually researched and read up and
I'm so sorry.
Put in Discord. No, I don't care. I gave you a segue and you decided to not go for it. That's fine.
Well, I kept meaning to get back on it, and the discussion's just been so good. But
to tell you the truth, Harry, you probably might want to slot some of that on Saturday because this is going to go on all week.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable.
Well, the one thing I was going to bring up is that, one of the things that I hate about the packaging of these people is that they get told what their favorite everything is.
Yes.
And when she said that her favorite poem was The Ladder of St. Augustine,
the hell it is.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's because here's what happened. Here's what really happened. One of her, staffer with, hey, you got a degree in English, right? Before you went to law school. Yeah, why? Go get us a poem that will have some uplifting stuff at the end that she can make into a rationale for loving CRT. Okay. And they find this old turkey from Longfellow, and so he's probably doing string searches, probably doing character string searches. And he comes to standing on what too long we bore, with shoulders bent and downcast eyes we may discern unseen before a path to higher destinies. And he goes, ha ha, that's perfect. That's hopeful. And, it's classical and it's Longfellow and blah, 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 blah. And really give her cred. He didn't read the stanza before that says, the heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight. But they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. It's a poem about the beauties of hard work and essentially a pain to capitalism, as much as anything.
Yeah.
I know it's people say it's a morality poem, but to me, it's about the achievements of man when they are given the opportunity.
If somebody ever asked me in a hearing what my favorite poem was, that's when I'd probably self-heat.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, first answer, do limericks count?
Yeah. There was a young lady from Nantucket.
Second, how do you feel about doggerel?
There once was a woman named Dot.
Yeah, because I've got some serious Ogden Nash memorized, and
she would probably say, "I think dogs rule."
Yeah, and it's like, what's if I can ask? Does anybody have a really strong, decided opinion?
You want to ask her
on Dorothy Parker? Because
right, Dorothy Parker, like she would, or just to ask. So you like Longfellow? You like the arrow in the song? Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites. Wrong. I shot an arrow into the air. Yeah. It fell to earth. I know not where.
Yeah. Or it's Joyce Kilmer's Trees. It's
another one. Yeah.
I'd probably blurt out My Last Mistress. I don't really have a favorite poem, but I do.
My point is, she doesn't have a favorite poem. Stop.
Most people don't. Unless it's like Dr. Seuss. The one fish, 10 fish, 5 fish, blue fish. I like ham and potatoes.
Green eggs and ham.
seriously.
So anyway,
if somebody said that, though, we would all be so evil as to just like start riffling through poetry to find something so wildly annoying to whatever our opposition was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but Longfellow, who the goddamn hell ever goes to Longfellow as their favorite?
Well, yeah, you know, he was kind of the Beyonce of the poems of the time.
Long-winded motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, and they thought he was profound because he used lots of words, and some of the words were hard. I thought he was a pompous, middling talent guy. He's not a completely untalented poem, but I would say, you know,
I would find
better. Yeah, what's wrong with Robert Burns?
No kidding. You know, but
you really like this better than all of Burns's his entire portfolio. Really? Okay. I don't get it.
How about Crossing the Bar? You know, you could really upset people by choosing Yevtushenko's Babi Yar.
Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and throw poetry.
I know. I'd love to do that. So to come up with the most inappropriate stuff. Because see, I have a very poor. It's not a poor opinion of Wordsworth, but I always found it Wordsworth.
Mm.
I just found of all the romantics, Wordsworth to be really annoying.
I don't see much art in his poetry, frankly.
No, there's a hell of a lot of beat it into the ground imagery, but you know, it's like, oh my God, number one, they're too long. Please, brevity is the soul of wit.
And they're too flowery.
Yes, Keats was a bit more to the point.
Oh yeah,
Shelley so.
Keats rocked. I like Keats poetry.
And I like Shelley all right. I mean, I love
Ozymandias, stuff like that.
Yeah. Ode on a Grecian Urn is beautiful, and it's actually a line from that is in the Library of Congress, etched into the ceiling. That beauty is truth, and truth beauty. That's all you need.
It's all you ever need
to know. Yeah, that's all there is, and all there is to know, or something like. I can't remember the exact.
Yeah, the original. It's been Americanized, and that's what you and I learned in high school.
Yeah, but it's a giant etching around a good portion of that main lobby of the Library of Congress. Because I looked up and I was like, "Ooh, Keats." So,
I do like the last stanza of the arrow in the song, where he says, "Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unwoke. And the song from beginning to end, I found again in the heart of a friend." Oh, unbroke. I'm sorry. I'm unwoke.
Yeah.
He was unbroke.
Oops.
Okay, damn it. I found it. I don't suck completely. I'm giving you a URL to share.
All righty.
This is an animation of of a tilt rotor aircraft with side-by-side rotors. Go ahead and share that. So people, I'm putting it in a private chat. I want you to copy it into the main chat. Don't ask me why I need you to do this.
Okay.
But this will explain what I was the word picture that was clumsily spilling out of my mouth earlier.
That's why you would chase it off down your rabbit hole.
Here.
Or herring off down your rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Annoying.
There we go. All right.
So if anybody's actually interested in what a simulation of a tilt rotor aircraft looks like, this will give you a rough idea. Because essentially the errors add up quickly.
I would,
do this real quick, just like
that tilt alone.
This isn't the animation I wanted, but it's at least something.
Share screen.
It's the animation they deserve.
Chrome tab. Share. Am I sharing successful?
Yep. Holy crap, holy.
Yeah, the amount of math that goes into the number of calculations that goes into this is insane.
It absolutely is. God,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the engineering problems that thing is generating, and just coiling.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that is awesome.
This is probably the result. I would have to check, but this is probably the result of many hundreds of hours of supercomputer time.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
And what's scary is probably in 10 years you'll be able to do it on your watch.
Yes.
If Moore's law holds, and every time everybody predicts that Moore's law is going to fail, it
doesn't.
It destroys them. It kills them.
It does. I mean, and then we think about the space program and the slide rules.
Yep.
It's just gobsmacking where we have come from those fraught hours of Apollo 13 to present day, where the calculations required to bring Apollo 13 home, you could probably pretty easily accomplish, as you were saying, Harry, on a watch. Not a watch now, but like your iPad or a laptop at home. And it's spooky.
Well, the interesting thing is
and they did it longhand, so to speak.
What was it? There was a I'm looking for the number, because it's a really. You remember when the Pentium processor came out?
I remember Weird Al did a song about it.
Yes.
It was based on, what is it, the song All About the Benjamins? It was all about the Pentiums.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and which my the vice president for information technologies at Colonial Savings, who was my direct report, used to call Petniums.
Oh, and,
he was a childhood friend of the CEO, so he got put in charge of the computer, and he bought the first mainframe, so he had that for a life position. And then he had a lot of people like me, and I was his principal director underneath for all these new PC things. And I used to tell him that I needed. We already got a Petnium. Well, this is a better Petnium. It was hard to explain it to him. But anyway, I was going to tell you that Intel's 15-core Xeon Ivy Bridge CPU has more than 4.3 billion, billion transistors. And that is 1,400 times more than what the original Pentium processor had. That's 1,400 times what the first Pentium processor, which was when 486 went to the proverbial 586, they didn't call it a 586, they called it a Pentium. And that is just 4.3 billion transistors on a chip. Harry, tell me that's not impressive.
It is impressive. But back in the day when those things came out, there were only two. There was one thing that I basically ask. It's sort of like guys who look at every woman and think smash or pass. When I was back in those days that I would look at every processor, I would just go, can I run Unix on this or not?
That was your smash or pass question.
That was like, but for CPUs,
right,
will it run Unix or won't it? It's like, okay, well, you can control the heater, the thermostat, and then, or you can do actual computer stuff.
Yeah.
No, but the Pentium was a decent chip.
Oh, it was.
So was the 486.
The 486 was revolutionary. That was world changing at the time. It really truly was. And even the 386 corrected so many problems. So the idea of how to design that sort of thing was just coming together when the 386 came in. The 486 was a super duper improvement on 386, and the Pentium was really that was when I thought, we have finally arrived. This has got some legs. It's going to be around for a while. I was wrong, of course. Moore's law proved me wrong, but still, I agree with you, Harry. It was an excellent move forward.
Yeah, well, it's like, people don't I don't think people realize it. Like the early CPUs, like the 286 and the original, essentially the x86, they actually couldn't address very much memory. So in order to run larger applications, they basically had to page memory out of the 4 megabytes they could
extended memory or expanded
and
memory.
They could basically copy it into this buffer. So they were constantly paging stuff in and out into this little, 256K buffer. It was very, very primitive compared to, the Pentium.
Sys, baby.
By the time you got to the Pentium, things looked like they do now. In fact, all of the stuff that we have now is just like really just an extension of that.
Improvement. Right.
Yeah. It's like you may have more little baby Pentiums on one chip, but they're still basically that type of chip.
Yeah.
And I'm using the big paintbrush, and please don't hurt me, Gamer Levine.
Yeah, but
trust me, I promise I do know the difference.
Gamer Levine said something I wanted to take up before we go. Let me find what that was. No, hang on.
What's interesting is it's kind of like the Richter scale has such an enormous exponent in it that a lot of people don't realize what that. Okay, good.
No, what? Just let me. I just wanted to get this out. Gamerverline asked way back. They have that "Are you sure?" window now, Harry. It's not just an Apple or Windows Enterprise feature. I didn't quite understand that comment. Did you?
She's telling me that they already did it. Good.
Well, but then it's that I understand that, but I don't understand. It's not just an Apple or Windows Enterprise.
Okay. Well, it's the permission thing, but I was sort of creating a false equivalency. I was just talking about types of things that companies do to protect their more naive users. So in the case of Apple, they do a pretty good job of managing permissions for apps in terms of not just letting any old app activate your web camera, for instance, because that could be bad. And of course, you've got to protect the children, right? So you don't want people just randomly giving malware out that activates people's web cameras. So that's an important thing, unless you're just like me and you just completely deactivate such things and then put stickers in front of them. But it's really good because people will occasionally say in meetings, "Hey, why don't you turn on your webcam, Harry?" And I'm like, no, I've gone to great pains to make sure it can't work.
Absolutely.
No, come on, turn it on. We want to see what you look like. No. Too bad. Doesn't work. But
turn them on and have it be a picture of George Clooney.
But before you basically hand over the keys to the kingdom to somebody, if they actually do provide adequate warnings, because I think I know the warning you're talking about. I was thinking about something maybe a bit more stringent. I almost feel like like they had Microsoft Bob. It was supposed to be like it had the little dancing paperclip and you just click on icons and stuff. Maybe don't treat old people like they're completely incompetent, but maybe there needs to be like a kids mode and a like a more vulnerable parents mode, for parents that are just, kind of struggling a little bit just to protect them. But no, if Microsoft is doing that, that's fine. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Microsoft. The guys at Microsoft Research and gals and everything in between.
Yeah.
Don't want to get in trouble here. Actually have done some pretty amazing stuff. When Apple was producing mice that were like, should come with a free coupon to a doctor to get your carpal tunnel looked at. Microsoft was actually designing input things that worked, and Surface is actually a really good idea. They've always had really smart people working at Microsoft. They're not a bunch of dum-dums.
No, but they still produce SharePoint.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, guys.
BitKeeper.
We have had some fun tonight. I do want to thank everybody for coming out and watching us chat. We do this for you, and love that you come out and have a little bit of fun with us for a couple of hours. Thank my panel, Blind Press, Prospero, Harry. Thank you for being with me, spending the evening with me, and
thank you.
I sure had a great time. I want to offer this in closing for all of us, and you'll be happy to know that it's a haiku that I wrote especially for this show. And you'll have to think about this one, particularly because of the middle line. When you feel tense and nothing makes sense except mints, make puns that are less dense. Zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Ow.